The technique that I'm going to show you in today's video, warning, it's going to be addictive. We're going to learn how to do spotlight embossing, and we're going to make all of these. Ready? Let's do it. So this is actually something I bought. Believe it or not, I have bought something new, and this is it. I bought the Waffle Flower Grip Mat and Stencil Extender. This is the actual stencil extender, and I'm going to be using it to create all the spotlight backgrounds that we're going to do in today's video. So it comes like this. You can take it apart, and it actually came with masks, which I didn't even know about. So this is the actual grip mat. It's like a big sticky, imagine what your stamps are made of. It's a big one of those, and it's sticky, and it also came with those grid lines. It's a sticker, so you can stick it on the back of the grid mat, and then you'll have all those lines so you can line everything up in place. The stencil extender, I bought it because I'm lazy, because it's basically going to keep the ink from getting all over the grip mat. So when I'm done using all my stenciling, I can just take the extender, run it under water, and clean it very easily. All right, so we're going to do some spotlight backgrounds here. So this is a heart die. I just ran it over a piece of plastic packaging, and then I'm just going to go ahead and swink some ink right through the negative space there. The plastic packaging I used was garbage. It came off of one of the stamp sets that I had that I was throwing away, so don't throw away your garbage. The second one, I'm going to use the heart that I cut from that piece of plastic packaging, or AKA garbage, and I'm going to mask out a heart. So I'm going to grab my ink and I'm just going to swink right over the top. You can use blending brushes if you want, but I don't care about the messiness. You see how I'm pretty much being messy, and this is also a very inked up, juicy ink pad here. So it looks like a hot mess, but you have to hang with me through the whole video because these are all going to look like a mess. But don't worry about it. It's not going to stay that way. All right, so let's go ahead and do another one. So I've laid the grip mat. The grip mat, my paper sticks to the grip mat, so there's no shifting and moving around, which is why I kind of like the grip mat. And in this case, I'm going to use, see that circle? And that came with the grip mat. I had no idea masks came with it. Or I'm sorry, not the grip mat, the stencil extender. I had no idea masks came with it, so I was pretty happy about that. So I'm going to go ahead and mask off. This is going to look like a sun when you're done. So a circle, if you don't have masks, create your own with a circle die. Just die cut a shape through some plastic packaging or anything that you've got. Even thin cardstock will work. Has to be thin cardstock, not thick cardstock. And you can create your own stencils that way as well. Especially if you're just doing basic shapes, you know, no need to go out and buy a circle stencil when you can pretty much make it yourself. So again, I created the sun, if you will, and now I'm just going to create the circle. And you can see pretty much what I'm doing here. So you can do this and create as many backgrounds as you want. And I created a whole bunch of backgrounds, but in lieu of keeping this video short, I'm not going to show you every single background I made, but this is basically the technique that I did. This one, I'm going to do some ink blending, very quick ink blending. I wanted to create like an ombre look, if you will. So again, I forgot to put on my stencil extender, and I only want to do that because I can just take that stencil extender and run it underwater and it comes right off. And it makes cleaning very, very easy. So I'm going to blend on 3 different colors here. And notice that I'm not getting a lot of blue transfer. That's because my ink pad is dry. I need to refill it. I don't know why I didn't just stop and refill it, but I didn't. But anyway, that's an indication that you need to re-ink your ink pad. I left it in the video just so you can see. So I'm going to blend on these 3 different colors. You can keep it one color. You can keep it all the same color. Do whatever you want. I'm using whatever blending brushes are sitting on my desk. I am not picky about brushes. Quite frankly, I like my Amazon blending brushes. And I got like a 12-pack for $7, and it all works just fine. Once I've got all that on there, I'm going to flick on some water splots, then lift up the mask, lift everything up, and I'm going to let this dry. I'm using all regular cardstock here. This is not specialty cardstock. I wanted to throw in some dark cardstock, so for that I'm going to pull out my Distress Oxides. I will have a dedicated video on Distress Oxides soon. I know I mentioned that a couple videos back, and I will. But for now, I've just got black cardstock, and I am just swinking on the ink. And then I'm using whatever blending brush happened to be sitting on my desk, just kind of blend it out a little bit to make it a little bit softer. Again, you can go ahead and ink blend that on with a blending brush if you want, but why bother when you can just take the pad directly to the black cardstock? So you got to let it dry. That's one thing about oxides, is you got to let it dry before moving on. I'm also going to go ahead and cover a complete black card panel with green ink. You'll see why later. I'm really just playing around. My hands got really, really, really inky here. So if you're don't like getting your hands dirty, then put on some gloves. I'm going to go ahead and press some oxide inks down onto my surface. And the key to oxides is you can layer up colors, even colors that normally if you mix them together, they would turn to mud, because once the ink or the oxides is dry, you can go ahead and layer another color and they will layer on top of each other, as opposed to mixing all together and turning into a big muddy bath water. So that's what I'm doing here. I am just playing. I'm not worrying about colors. I'm not worrying about color theory. I'm not worrying about anything. I am just creating various backgrounds, have no idea how they're going to look when they're done, but that's the fun in it. Like just smush, ink blend, do whatever you want with the oxides. Just make sure they're dry before you introduce new colors. I am a huge fan of Shark Tank. I've been watching it since it came out. Mr. Wonderful is so mean. But anyway, I saw this on Shark Tank. It's a skincare line called Proven. And I wanted to prove to see if it worked or not, because I've tried all different kinds of crap. I'm getting older, my skin's getting older, and I'm not happy about it. But anyway, so I tried this because I was intrigued by their Shark Tank pitch. They take a quiz. The quiz asks you how much water you drink. I don't drink a lot. How many vegetables you eat. I don't eat a lot. It takes into account the zip code where you live and the air quality, and it's got all this science mojo behind it. And I'm a sucker for buying these things, so I tried it out. I took the quiz, I tried it out, and I gotta tell you, it's legit. I've been using it for about 4 weeks now, and I can tell that some of the sunspots that I've been getting from aging is actually fading. And all of the wrinkles on my forehead that I hate, I feel like they're not as noticeable. This is a super easy system to use. It's just 3 steps. You've got your cleanser, your day cream, and your night cream. I've got a coupon code, Laurel20. All the details are in the description. Try it out for yourself. Once I was done with my background session, I was left with all of these backgrounds. Those were all oxides, and those were all Catherine Puller inks blended through stencils and whatnot. So I've got all these backgrounds to do what I'm super excited about, which is spotlight embossing. You can use regular embossing folders. I'm using 3D embossing folders, but use whatever you have. So let's start with this one first. This is very simple, right? If I left that card alone, it would be cool, but let's go ahead and add a design to it. I'm using Altenew 3D embossing folders. I've had them forever. If they're still available, I'll link them in the description in the supply list for you. I'm running that through my sandwich. You have to figure out what sandwich works for you for your embossing machine, but check this out. Look how just that's it. Like, that's it. And doing that added so much coolness to it. So I'm going to keep playing along. I'm going to keep running different embossing folders through my embossing machine. Now I have a Cuttlebug right now, so I'm doing an A plate and a C plate is all I need, because I'm using 3D embossing folders. If I was using a regular embossing folder, it would be an A plate and then sandwiched it between 2 B plates. So basically figure out whatever embossing sandwich works for you. Now I'm hungry because I said sandwich, but figure out whatever works for you for your embossing machine. I actually just ordered the Spellbinder Platinum 6 from Ellen Hudson because they're going out of business. Did you know Ellen Hudson was going out of business? So they have a huge sale over there. And so I ordered a Platinum, Spellbinder's Platinum, and it'll come in the mail soon. So my Cuttlebug, I'm going to give to my daughter. I bought this when my son was a baby. He is almost 18 now. So my Cuttlebug has lasted a lifetime. So anyway, this one, I'm actually doing partial embossing. I was too busy blabbing, so I'm doing partial embossing, so you can see whatever's hanging out of the embossing folder obviously will not emboss. So in this case, I was able to add 2 different embossing style designs to my card panel. So, I mean, really, just have fun, play, use what you have. Use the same embossing folder over and over again. It doesn't matter. I just happen to have all these embossing folders from years ago, and that's what I'm going to do. So this is the beginning of pulling together this spotlight embossing technique, which I think is so stinking cool. And you'll see it all come together once I start to assemble the cards. And there's really not much you have to do to finish out these cards. You'll be amazed. So this is the final one I'll show you on camera. Running it through. This is, you're probably getting sick of, maybe you went and got a sandwich because it made you hungry. But anyway, that's all you have to do for this technique. Use your embossing folders, run them through the machine, and let's go ahead and start assembling cards. So this was the oxides and some kind of tree embossing folder. I'm just using some brown oxide inks directly to the card panel to just really showcase that embossed design. And then I'm going to let that dry. And then once it was dry, I went into my magic mug and dumped out all the sentiments that I had already pre-cut pre-die cut, pre-everything. I added some brown ink. This is a great masculine card, by the way. And then I'll just go ahead and glue that sentiment strip down. Since I already had all these pre-cut and pre-die cuts and all that stuff in my magic mug, it makes for pulling cards together very, very easily. All right, this is also another Distress Oxide card panel. And this time I'm going to add some white ink to kind of bring up. So basically I'm just adding ink over the embossed images to really highlight that embossed, like it's popping up because it's 3D. So I think that really accentuated the design that was on the background, and the Distress Oxide blended that we did in the video by just mushing a bunch of colors together, I think is really cool on that dark background. And here's a look at this finished card. It's super easy, man. I love it. Now this one, I'm not doing diddly squat except adding a sentiment. So you can use either side of your embossing folder. This is kind of where it's pushed in, and the other side is where it's raised up. So you can use whatever side you want. I'm using both sides on all my cards, but all I did was add a sentiment strip to this one. This one is my favorite, probably because of all the color, because I love color. So I happen to have in my magic mug, I have 3 different compartments. I have images, I have sentiments, and then I have dies and shapes. This happened to be a shape I pulled right out of it, so I'm going to go ahead and color it with some pink ink, and then I'll just glue that circle directly on. I get asked about this glue all the time. It's Barely Arts glue. I'll link it in the description. This is the original bottle I've had for about 3 years now. Never clogged, and I haven't gone through the bottle yet. So these are also some word dies that I had already cut, and they were in my magic mug. So this instance, I'm going to pop them up with some foam dimensional tape. You don't have to do this. You can glue it flat if you want to. But that's not what I'm doing here. Just popping it up. I love black and white sentiments on cards. I just love it. So these are all heat embossed sentiments on black cardstock that I did off camera for filling up my magic mug, which it's not even a mug anymore. It's actually a box, but I'm still calling it a magic mug. So once I go ahead and line that up, everything is by eyeballs. I don't get rulers or tape measures or anything like that. I'm just eyeballing it, and I think it's just fine. So I'm going to trim this down to 4 by 5.5. And this time when because I have the black and white sentiments, I wanted a black card base. So I wanted it to really show through. So I'm going to trim it down to 4 inches by 5.5, and then I can go ahead and glue this down and center it up on my card base. And by doing this, I will give myself a black border on the left and the right hand side of my card. And this is my favorite card. Absolutely 100%. All right, so then I've got this here. So I had a heart in my magic mug. So I'm going to go ahead and ink blend whatever ink color was left over on that blending brush I was trying to use, but I needed a little bit more ink. So I'm just going in with pink. Whatever color, keep it white, whatever you want to do. Even make it black. That would have been pretty cool if I had just done a black heart. But I didn't. I'm going in with pink. I'll go ahead and glue that down. I'm going to pop that up with some foam dimension as well. I already had some foam tape out, so why not use it? And I'll pop that up, give myself a sentiment, already pre-cut and everything, and that finishes off this card. Don't you just think it's cool? See, it's the spotlight embossing that's really doing all the work for you. So this one, I'm going to go ahead and add its Monstera leaves, Monstera, whatever. And I'm going to add some green ink, let it dry before I finish it off because, leaves are green. This was a flower I had in my magic mug, already stamped, die cut, the whole shebang. Got that foam dimensional tape out. You see where I'm going? I pretty much use whatever's on my desk. Right? It's already out. You already got it all out. Let's go ahead and use it up. So this time I added a focal point to the card and check it out. And last but certainly not least, this is the one where we added 2 different embossing folders. So to divide up that line, I just used a gold pen. You can use washi tape, whatever, but I didn't want that line. It was very noticeable. There was a line there between the 2 different designs. Then I'll just find myself a sentiment that I thought would look good. Happen to have one. Look at them all. You see them all cut there. And that finishes off this card, right? All spotlight embossing. It's just like I'm addicted to it. I don't even know what else to say. I'm totally addicted to it. I made so many cards at one sitting, and I dig it. What do you think? Here are some cards. I'm even showing cards I didn't do on camera. But what do you think of this technique? I'm sure this is nothing new. I didn't invent it, but I'm totally and completely addicted to it. And I made so many backgrounds, and you can use whatever inks you have, whatever cardstock you have, whatever embossing folders you have, make them masculine, make them feminine, make them multicolored. I've got all different kinds of things going on here, and I had a ball in this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found some inspiration, and I will see you guys next time.